Hello YouTube, my name's Jason and this is Lineware. Today we are going to discuss classes, methods, and objects. The first thing you need to know about classes is that, let's delete this. I was just messing around with some stuff. We don't need that. And let's delete that, give it a curly brace. And as you can see, you have probably seen these quite a couple times being used in our past tutorials. This is pretty much the declaration of the class, and this right here is the body of the class. And the class body is everything in the between the braces that contains all the code that provides for the life cycle of the objects created from the class, such as your constructors, your objects, your declarations for the fields, and your methods, and all your etceteras. Now there is a general way of declaring a class. Some of the components needed for a class is basically your access modifiers, which are like your publics, your privates, your protecteds, and your defaults. And basically, it's basically the name except for the default one. The default one contains nothing like that. And then you have your private and all of them. Let's go ahead and make this public again. Then the next thing would be the class keyword. That has to be there. It tells Java this is a class. We'll go over something called a hidden class later, but right now we're not going to go over that. And then you need your class name. And the class name with the initial letter capitalized is convention. So let's try to keep these capitalized. Also, you can start it with a underscore. No, you can't. No, actually that's methods. You can start methods with underscores, but we'll go over that later. You can't do it with that. The name, the next thing you would set up is the name of the parent's superclass. Basically, this is a subclass, and the way you would do that would be by putting the extends keyword and then the class you want to inherit from. Class inherited from. This would be the class name. This isn't a keyword or anything, and the reason it's showing an error is because that class has never been made. So let's go ahead and make it. Class inherited from. And as you see, it goes away whenever we create that. The next step would be creating, setting up your interfaces that you want to implement from, and you would do the implements keyword, and then the interfaces you want to implement from. You can actually use multiple interfaces, but you can only use one class to inherit from. So we're going to do interface 1 and interface 2, just as a demonstration. And we'll create them. Interface 1. I want a curly brace. Let's copy that. Control C. And let's change that to a 2. And as you see, all of our errors disappeared. The next thing you need to know is how to declare your member variables, or fields. We talked about them in other tutorials, but let's go ahead and give them another go. Member variables are outside of your methods, meaning they're right behind the curly brace or right here, but they are never inside your methods. These are also called fields. They're your non-static fields and your static fields. They are also known as your instance variable and your class variable. The instance variable is the non-static field and the class variable is the static field. As a whole, they are called your member variables. And the way you would set them up is you would set it up with your access modifier. Then you would either give it the static keyword or not. We're not going to give it the static keyword. And this is getting an error just because we don't have that right there. But we're going to finish that. And then you would have to give it its data type. And also known as the field type because it's inside of your fields or your members. But that is basically your primitive data types like your ints, your booleans, your chars, your string, and all of them. We'll just go ahead and create one for integer, and then you would have to name it. Basically, convention says the first letter lowercase, but we're not going to do with this because you generally want to keep verbs for your methods, and just because your methods are your behaviors. So let's say dog, and then we'll just end it with a semicolon, and that's how you would declare your. And let's go ahead and create another one. I don't know, I might do something later with this. And these would be your member variables. Also, you can use the default on the variables or the fields or members, whatever one you want to call them. That ends up to you. And the default is none at all. But you have to have a class name and you have to have a declaration. Alright, now let's talk about methods. We're going to create the method in class inherited from, just because I want to put it right here. And on the method, you would basically do like, you would have to do your modifier, which is like your, again, your publics, your privates, and all of them. Then you would have to give it a return type, which would be like int, or you can use the default, not the default, but void, which is used a lot. As you can see, it's right here. And what this means is it doesn't have a return type. And if you put an integer right here, you have to give it a return type. But if you put void, it doesn't have to return anything. Also, you can put your static in this and make it a static method, but we don't use them very often. The next thing you would have to do is name it, and on this one, like I said, you would do a verb, so we'd be like this dog, or like is dog. And that's basically what you would do right here. The next step would be some parentheses, which are going to hold your parameter list, and your parameter list is basically like integer x and separated by a comma, integer y, and then you would follow that with your braces.